Hi there, this is Tania Browning, and today I'm going to demonstrate Downward Dog, which is also known as Ardha Mukha Savasana. Ardha meaning downward, Mukha meaning facing, Savana meaning dog, and Asana meaning pose. Now this pose, the reason why I've chosen it is actually one of my favourite poses. When I first started out in yoga, I have to say it was probably the pose I really disliked the most. Simply because I couldn't understand that it was considered to be a resting pose. But as well as being a resting pose, it's also a transitional pose. It's a pose we'd use probably more in the vinyasa flowing style of yoga, or most commonly known in sun salutations. It's a special pose because it stretches just about all the muscles in the body. It's considered to be an inversion, and this is where the heart is higher than the head. So the benefits of this is that you get lots of blood flow to the brain, so it gives you mental clarity. It's good for things like insomnia, relieves headaches, good for circulation, blood pressure, good for the immune system and the nervous system. It can be both an energising and a calming pose depending on how you utilise it. Also, it's considered to be a shoulder opener, but you probably find that it would feel more like a hamstring stretch, because the hamstrings should really feel them. It strengthens the arms and the legs, stretches the arches of the feet, the ankles, the wrists, the calves and the hamstrings, shoulders, neck and back. Lengthens the spine, so it relieves tension, and also tones the core and the waist. Now, the contraindications for this pose would be high blood pressure, and also if you've got a wrist injury, definitely avoid it. Now, in regards to alignment, you've got to consider the hands and feet. They've got to be well rooted to the ground, so that means making sure your fingers are well spread, so you've got a nice even balance. Your hands and feet need to be hip width distance apart. Can be wider though, if it makes it easier for you to get into the pose. Your arms and legs will be activated. Your arms need to be straight, but your knees can be slightly bent if you can't actually straighten them, if your hamstrings are too tight. Also, if you have hyperextended knees, you have to bend them just a little bit. You can actually use blocks to help push your heels down to the ground, so you can get that grounding feeling. Your shoulders, they need to externally rotate to create space around your neck and shoulder area, and your shoulder blades need to be pushed down and out, and this will help to open your chest and open up your heart chakra and heart chakra. Your pelvis, now you have to lift your pelvis, but at the same time you've got to slightly tilt your tailbone, so you've got to tuck it in so you avoid arching your back, because you want to create length in your back, and make sure that you've got a lot of energy flow going throughout your body. Now your neck you can just let it hang softly between your arms. If you want the pose to be more dynamic, you can tuck in your chin and look up to your drishti point, being your navel centre. And lastly, when you're in the pose, become aware of the equilibrium between your hands and your feet. You want to be consciously aware that you're not putting too much pressure on your wrists, because you don't want to create injury. Now, to get into this pose, if you're familiar with it and familiar with yoga, Tadasana is probably a good way to start, with prayer pose or Anjali Mudra. Then you do a forward fold, put your hands to the feet, and then step back, and then push up into downward dog. But for beginners, I think to get correct alignment, I think it's best to start in tabletop pose. And this is where you make sure that your hands are directly under your shoulders and your knees are under your hips. So then you just push up into the pose. Now, as I said before, you can use blocks for the feet, and you can, if you want the pose to be a more restorative pose, you can rest your head on a bolster. Now, with this pose, it's good to be conscious of your breathing. You can activate your abdominals. This is also good for your digestive system. But when you're using this pose more dynamically, like as a transitional pose, quite often when you move between poses, you can lose touch with your breath. So usually when you're utilising this pose, you tend to pause. So it's a good time to, when you're taking this pause, to actually bring your mind back to the breath and be consciously aware of your breathing, and also just reacquaint yourself with the breath. And the other thing I want to mention is counter pose. So once you come out of the pose, you can go into upward dog, which is Urdhva Mukha Savasana, and you can also go into child pose and Savasana. So I think I've covered everything there, so I'll just now demonstrate the pose. Okay, so we're going to do tabletop pose. So as I said, wrists, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. We're just going to push up gently, making sure the back is long and straight, the tailbone slightly tucked, and the shoulders are rotating out, so I've got lots of space between my shoulder blades. Now I can utilise my block to push down onto. And I can use my bolster. As a more restorative resting downward dog. And now complete the pose, I do child's pose. And you can finish with Savasana. Okay.